Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 9, verse 30. Tado upasamhartya gira sahasrane. Tadopasamhartya gira sahasrane. Tadopasamhartya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Krishne Lasad Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Puraha Stite Milita Drig Vyadharayat. Pura Stita Milita Drig Vyadharayat. Tadopasamhritya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Purastite Milita Drigvyadharaya. Tadopasamhritya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Purastite Milita Drigvyadharaya. Tadopasamritya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangha Mana Adipurushe. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Tadvastita Naila Digvyadharaya. Tadopasamritya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. Krishne Lasat Pita Pate Chaturbhuje. Purasita Drigvyadharaya. Tadopasamritya gira sahasrane. Vimukta Sangam Mana Adipurushe. कृष्णे लसत्पीतपटे चतुर्भुजे पुरस्थितां नीलदृग्व्यधारयत् तदोपसंहृत्य गिरा सहस्रनये विमुक्तसङ्गं मनादिपुरुषे कृष्णे लसत्पीठपटे चतुर्भुजे पुरस्थितमीलितदृग्व्यधारयत् तदोपसंहृत्य गिरा सहस्रनये विमुक्तसङ्गं मनादिपुरुषे कृष्णलसत्पीतपटे चतुर्भुजे पुरस्थितमीलितदृग्व्यधारयत्. Word to word meaning. Tadha, at that time. Upasamhritya, withdrawing. Giraha, speech. Sahasrane, Bhishma Deva, who was expert in the thousands of science and arts. Vimukta Sangam, completely freed from everything else. Manaha, mind. Adipurushe, onto the original personality of Godhead. Krishna, onto Krishna. Lasat Pita Pate, decorated with yellow garments. Chaturbhuje, onto the four-handed original Narayana. Puraha, just before. Sthite, standing. Amidita, widespread. Drig, vision. Vyadharayan, fixed. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on the thousands of battlefield, protected thousands of men, stopped speaking and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Please repeat after that. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefield and protected thousands of men stopped speaking and being completely freed from all bondage withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garment that glittered and shined. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishma Deva set the glorious example concerning the important function of human form of life. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Therefore, if one is absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is sure to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 5 to 15. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Prata, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he is who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is the smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrow in the full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman, desiring such perfection. One practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagement, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllables Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Sri Bhishma Deva attained the perfection of quitting this body at a will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him, because he was a pure devotee. He had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishma Deva was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object, and by the grace of Lord, Sri Bhishma Deva had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namini. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So it's a most glorious time, and you can just see how Bhishma Deva is quitting his body. So in this verse, last verse we heard that the sun direction had changed, and this was noticed by Bhishma Deva, and he thought this is the right time to leave the body. That time is called Uttarayana. I think so. It's coming in few days. That Makar Sankranti. So in this verse, Tadopa Samhritya Gira Sahasranai, at that time, withdrawing. So he was talking lots of subjects about dharma of human living entities, and he was constant conversation was going on between Yudhishthira and Bhishma Deva. But once that time came, a mature time came for his departure from this material world, he just decided. He just made a choice. In fact, we also have an opportunity that Means we have some choice in life. Depends how we utilize that choices in life. Means those who are fortunate, they use that choice in a best way. Here you see how Bhishma Deva, he's about to leave this body, and he made a best choice that he was constantly absorbed in the form of Lord Krishna. He was just absorbed seeing the beautiful form of Lord Krishna, who is standing near him. Krishne lasat pita pate chaturbhuje. So Lord Krishna is dressed in yellow garments. He was standing before Bhishma Deva. And one second. His eyes were wide open. He was fully focused. In the verse you can see, thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meaning and who fought on the thousands of battlefield, protected thousands of men, stopped speaking. And he just stopped because he thought now time has come to leave this body. And he was absorbed in seeing the beautiful form of Lord Krishna who was present there. Being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the virginal personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garment that glittered and shined. So Lord was in a four-handed form. Prabhupada explains that according to the relationship what we have with the Supreme Lord, Lord is perceived. Like Bhishma Deva was attracted to the four-handed form of Narayana, and Lord was present in that form. In fact, devotional life, there are different relationships which devotees develop. Like Mother Yashoda, she was attracted to Krishna as a child. He was like Krishna, Mother Yashoda, he was small baby, Krishna was small baby, and Mother Yashoda was very attracted to Krishna because to take care of her, protect him. It's called as Vatsalya Rasa. So the mother is protecting the Lord and she's taking care of her. Like Krishna's friends covered, they were like Sakya Rasa, they were like friendship. And gopis, they were like Madhurya Rasa. So devotees, they develop particular relationship with the Supreme Lord. And Bhishma Deva had that particular relationship with Lord. So the Lord was standing before him as four-handed Narayana form. In purport, Prabhupada very nicely explains. In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishma Deva set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. So Acharyas, or the great devotees, they set example for all of us. How do we quit this material body? This is the most hard reality, but it's true that everyone has to quit this body. Nobody is permanent in this material world. It's a nature of this material world that it has a beginning and it has an end. And nobody can avoid that. So here, Bhishma Deva is Mahajana, and he's setting example. How do we quit this material body? So first of all, we should understand why this human form of life is most important. Why? So this is very nicely explained by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is a great Mahajana. He is a great devotee. In fact, Prahlad Maharaj was so fortunate that Narada Muni instructed him. From his childhood, he was devotee of the Supreme Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was a son of Hiranyakashipu. His father was Hiranyakashipu, an atheist, a demon. So his friends were also atheists. They were not believing in the Supreme Lord. So he used to preach them. So you can just see how Prahlad Maharaj is preaching his friends. So what is he preaching all about? So he says, Shri Prahlada Vacha, Kaumaram Acharate Pragna, Dharman Bhagavatan Hya, Durlabam Manusham Janma, Tadapi Adruvam Arthadham. So here the word pragna is most important. You can see the pragna means intelligent. So Prabhupada very nicely explains this. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of life, human form of body, from the very beginning of life, from the very tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service. Komaram acharet pragna. So from the childhood we have to start this bhakti, not that last end of our life, because that time it's very tough, because our body will not be in a good condition. So once our body is in a very good condition, we should take up to this process of devotional life. Giving up all other engagement. Why we have to take up this so seriously? So here he says, Durlabham Manusham Janma. This human form of life is very rare. In Shastras it is said that there are 84 lakh species of life. It says like Jalaja Anavalakshani. So it's just like a cycle. So if you cross 84 lakh species of life, then you get human form of life. So it's a cycle. So if you miss that cycle, once again you're in a loop. So there are Jalaja Navalakshani. There are 9 lakh varieties of living entities in the aquatic. Stavra Laksha Vimshati, and there are 2 million varieties of trees and plants. Krimayo Rudra Sankhya, there are 1.1 million insects and others. Pakshina, there are birds, 1 million varieties of birds. And there are 3 million varieties of animals who can move all around. And there are 4 lakh varieties of human beings according to Guna. And so you can imagine there are 84 lakh species, and getting this human form of life is so rare. And we waste this human form of life in unwanted things. So Prahlad Maharaj gives a graphical description. How do we waste our life? Like our duration of life is 100 years, right? In that 50% where it is gone, can you guess? In sleeping. So we sleep around night 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We wake up at morning 6 or 7 or 8, 9, depends. So 50% is gone in that. So 50% of our life is gone in sleeping. 100 years, 50 years is gone. And he gives from 0 age 1 to 10, this is also gone. We are roaming all around. We don't know what we are doing. We are in a different stage altogether. Parents, they say something, we do, okay, little we'll do it. So they have to be, so we are in a not proper conscious state. So that 10 years is also gone. So 60 years are gone. So remaining 40 years, assuming that we have 100 years of life. In that last stage, 70 to 65 to 35, so you can calculate that also is gone, because we are in an unhealthy condition. That time our body, mind, system does not support us. So maybe few years we may have. In that also we are interested in all glitter of this material world. And we waste in that also. Go to cinema, see something, talk, roam around. So the Prahlad Maharaj is very clearly is defining that why this human form of life is so important. So I think so 80% of life is gone in, maybe 90%, but 10% at least if you can utilize for this devotional service. So he says, Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapi Adruvam Arthadham. Adruvam is impermanent, and above that we get many diseases and all. Arthadam, so but there is a meaning in that. So in this human form there is a meaning, and what is that meaning? Dharman Bhagavatam hiya. So we can utilize this human form of life by engaging in devotional service. So here Bhagavatam is referring to 9 types of devotional service. So first of all, the human form of life is very rare. Above that, in 100 years, we spend 50 years in sleeping, and 10 years is gone in playful way. Last some years are gone in taking this, in our body is in not a proper condition. So Dharman Bhagavatam hiya. So Prahlad Maharaj is requesting that we have to utilize this human form of life for devotional service. There are 9 types of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So these are the 9 varieties of devotional service which we have to engage our senses in the service of the Lord, and then we can achieve the highest perfection. So if you see this, this is a practical description like how we get these different bodies. It is through karmana daiva netrena. By the divine arrangement, we may be transferred to different forms of life, like birds. There are many 84 lakh species of life. Whatever body we may get, if we are not engaged in devotional service, if we are not focused our mind on the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So here, Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life, in other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagement. The human body is most rarely achieved. So we discussed how this human form is very rarely achieved. And although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in the human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Just a slight, just a minute, if you do devotional service, we can get highest benefit. Swalpam api yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. Just small devotional service. And further in the purport, Prabhupada explains this one very interesting statement. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. So Prabhupada writes it in an italic font, stating that is most important. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. So here, what is the attraction what we have at the time of death? We're going to get a next body. It's like if you are absorbed in material things, material enjoyment, if our mati, this mind, is attracted toward material things, obviously we'll get next body as whatever we had desired at the last moment of our life. Prabhupada says this bhakti, what we do devotional service, is tested. There's a test. Material world we have test. Somehow we can cheat also. We can do some cheat code or something. We can fool them. But this test we cannot cheat. This time of death we cannot cheat. If you are not remembering Krishna, then there's a 84 lakh species waiting for us. What body we may get, we don't know. So, in fact, you have heard this Orthodox priest, monks. So they keep something with their, always they keep this. You know this? They keep skull. This Orthodox priest, they keep skull near their table or. So it says that it reminds them about their impermanence. It reminds that they are not eternal. There is a nice story also in Bhagavatam that we know we're going to die, but we are careless. We are not. In future it may happen. वो जा रहा है, मैं नहीं जा रहा हूँ. So that we have. That person is going, not I am. So in Mahabharata, there is an incident. Yudhishthira and Pandavas, they were in exile. So they were in exile and they were roaming. And they were feeling thirsty. So they come to a lake. So that lake is protected by Yaksha, a higher divine person. So they are feeling thirsty, and Yudhishthira's younger brother, they tried to drink that water, but they became unconscious after drinking that water. So Yudhishthira reaches that location, and this Yaksha, he had a condition that if you want to drink my lake water, you have to answer few questions. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said, okay, I'll answer few questions. So he asked very interesting question. So there are lots of questions which are asked. So one question he asked is, what is most wonderful? So this is the most interesting question he asked. What is the most wonderful thing? So he says, the most wonderful thing is that although every day innumerable humans and their animals go to the abode of death, still man thinks that he is immortal. So We always think that, okay, I am there, I'll not die, I'll be living eternally. Those people have died. We see some news coming in the channel and all. We think, oh, air crash has happened. That's okay, those people had died. I'll not die. So this is what we have always developed in our mind, that those people will die, but I am not. And we think that I'm immortal. I have all this powerful senior or soldiers who will protect us, like our family members. We have faith in the modern science, that modern science will protect me from all medicines and all. If you see the history of modern science, it started in 18th century, right? So if you see 220 years, maybe 225 years. And what is the goal of modern science? Nobody should die. That's their goal they follow. But still now, they are not able to protect even one person. There's not even one example that, okay, this person is alive. No. In fact, Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj brings a beautiful prayer. He says that, Balasya neha sharanam pittaro narasimha nartasya chagadam uddhanvati muchita naho taptasya tap pratavir hiya chestas tavad bhivu tanubritam tava upekshitanam. So in material life, we think that I have all this protection shield like bank balance, insurance. US we have all insurance. That insurance will protect. But if you go to hospital, you'll see what they treat like animals. They poke injection. If you are in a healthy condition, once you get syringe, your little pain is there. Imagine if you are in unhealthy condition, you are in a diseased way, you have around 101 degree fever. And at the time the doctor gives one syringe, it's very extremely painful, right? And in above that, if he pokes it in a wrong location, it's gone. We cannot do anything. His expressions will be indifferent. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Lord Narsimha, O Lord Narsimha Deva, O Supreme, because of bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for you, you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. So whatever remedies we accept, that also is impermanent. Like suppose we want to cure some disease, we accept some medicine. It may work for some period of time, but it cannot give permanent solution. For example, so he gives three statements. A father and mother cannot protect their child. It's true, right? If child goes to school, what happens? What can do? Parents cannot do anything. So we see here many incident of shooting and somebody pluggers. What can parents do? They cannot sit near this child. Oh, I'll protect him 24 hours. Not possible. A physician and a medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. That is also true. When you are diseased and that disease is incurable, so they'll do some experiment. They'll give some medicine. Okay, we'll try this. But if it's not working, what the doctor can do? A boat in the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So in the ocean, if you are in a boat, that also cannot protect. So Prahlad Maharaj is very graphically describing that what is the condition of this jiva. Therefore, Prabhupada in the purport explains, therefore, if one is absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is sure to go back home, back to Godhead, without any doubt. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada brings a series of verses. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attain my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So at the time of death, if we remember Lord Krishna, we're sure we are going back home, back to Godhead. In fact, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punar janma neti mameti so Arjuna. So, in fact, Prabhupada wrote Krishna books so that all devotees can read, take advantage of that. So, these pastimes, if they are in the constantly remembered or thought, so we'll just observe that pastimes of Krishna, and at the time of death, we'll only remember Krishna and we'll go back home, back to Godhead. In fact, we do service for the Lord like garland making, offering, cooking. So our mind is fully absorbed in that. that is fully absorbed, 100% we're going to go back home, back to Godhead. So, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So, whatever state, just if your state is of material things, 100% you're going to get a material body. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me. You will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, Uprata, Arjuna, is sure to reach me. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrow in full devotion, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great soul who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. So here Prabhupada is explaining lots of verses from Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam. So it's from 8th chapter, attaining the Supreme. So Prabhupada is explaining that just by remembering Supreme Lord Krishna, our state of existence can change. In fact, if you have heard a last lecture of Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was about to depart, so he had given a beautiful talk. So Prabhupada was in a bed and he was talking. So he gave very interesting narration. So there Pradyumna, he asks Prabhupada about Bhagavatam some questions. So he asked about karma hetu. So Prabhupada very nicely translates, if you engage in devotional service, we get a different nature. So this is the most powerful statement. If you are engaged in devotional service, we get different nature. And if we engage in the basis of sense gratification, the result is different. If you are engaged in devotional service like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, if you are engaged in serving the Lord, whatever way, by preaching, by chanting, you get a different nature altogether. Our nature is changed. But on the contrary, if you are engaged in sense gratification or you are engaged in own pleasure, then that nature you will get is different. And according to so Prabhupada says that a man is known by his association. Then Prabhupada talks about association. And according to the association of different nature, we get a body. Karanam guna sangasya sadasat janma yonishu. So according to different association, we get body. We should always seek good association. Then Prabhupada concludes that we should always seek good association. Devotee association, he says, devotee association. Our life will be successful. If you are in the Sangha of Vaishnavas, then our life will be successful. A man is known by the company. If suppose you are in the association of drunkard, people who drink, obviously you will become a drunkard and you will be lying in some streets, losing money and all. But if you are in the association of devotees, you will be talking about Krishna, Krishna's pastime, you will be engaged in Krishna's service. Devotee association is most important. And devotee association means what? Devotees are talking about Krishna, hearing, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So they are discussing, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada further says that we have to elevate our consciousness. Now our consciousness is in Rajoguna and Tamoguna. This Rajoguna and Tamoguna binds us in this material world. Rajoguna is passionate, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that. Tamoguna is ignorance, full of ignorance, is not in a proper state, is thinking, okay. So Prabhupada says we have to elevate our consciousness to Satoguna. And then, once you are in the mode of Satoguna, then this lower grade like Rajoguna and Tamoguna will not affect us. And the best process of being in Satoguna is in the association of devotees. Because devotees are always engaged in hearing chanting about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Sri Bhishma Deva attained the perfection of quitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. So Bhishma Deva, he's giving example, he's setting example for all the devotees that how we should quit this body. We're going to quit. There's no chance that we're going to protect this body. No way we cannot protect. So how do we quit this body? How do we do that? Like in life, many times people get notice. We also get notice of death. In what form? Yeah, that's a gross way. So our hair starts turning white. So the notice is coming. We get diseased. We are not able to breathe properly, choke. At night, many times it gets choked. So it's a notice which we get. But we think we ignore that notice by thinking, okay, I'll just color this hair. So it's not there. Or if it is choking, then I'll think, okay, this medicine will act. So we also get notice in life, but we ignore that, thinking that death is for those who are not for me. Sri Bhishma Deva attained the perfection of quitting his body at will. So Bhishma Deva had a boon that he can quit his body whatever time he wants. So he decided a particular time, Uttarayana, when the sun direction is changed. And was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. So Lord Krishna was also present. Devotees were also there. And he therefore fixed his open eyes upon him, and therefore he fixed on the form of Lord Krishna. So here you'll see Lord was standing in a 400 Narayana form near Bhishma Deva with well dressed like yellow garments, yellow silk dhoti, and decorated with jewels and all. He wanted to see Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishma Deva was to see the person, Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. And by the grace of Lord, Sri Bhishma Deva had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. So Bhishma Deva was most fortunate in that case because he got he knew what time he going to die, but Lord was personally present. One way you'll see Parishit Maharaj, he also got notice, right? 7 days notice. We also get notice, but we ignore that notice. We think, not meant for me. So you'll see if life we get this opportunity. So we have to be very serious in taking up this process of devotional service. Because we don't know when our notice will come. Especially in this age, we don't know. When you are traveling that car goes at around 100 kilometer, right? And it says that speed, the crash is so intense, nobody can survive. And here's the standard like 120. The speed is also fixed. You have to drive in 65 miles. If you reduce, then back some person will honk. Or if you cannot reduce the speed also. So the danger is always there in this material life. Padam padam yat vipadam. So each step there is a danger. But the best process is to take up to this process of devotional service. And in Kali Yuga, the best process is Yagne Sankirtanai Prahe Yajanti Sumedasaha. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this is the most easiest and the best way. You can chant any time. If you are in some danger, immediately you can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you may ask, what is the proof, Prabhu? You are telling chanting is so important. In Bhagavatam, 6th canto, the story of Ajamila. Just by chanting Narayana, he was in a deathbed. He was pulled by Yamadutas. He is already, that has not come. Just seeing Yamadutas, he chanted loudly, Narayana. Immediately. So you can see the fortune of Miss Ajamila at last stage of his life chanted this Narayana. So we all chanting at least, right? We're chanting at least 1 round, 2 rounds. We're constantly chanting. So you can imagine what fortune we may have. So he wanted to see Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with detailed performance of yogic principles. Like in Bhagavad Gita, we heard that somebody has to be in a particular time, he has to concentrate on the homkara, close all his gates. Uh, so it's a yogic process where the yogi quits this body. But Bhishma Deva did not do that. He was lying in a bed of arrows. And how could he perform those yogic principles at the last stage of his life? So Bhakti Yoga is so powerful, it's not required to perform all these yogic principles like you have to utter Omkara and you have to transcend this consciousness till near the skull of your head and then you have to leave this body. So this is all not possible in this age. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishma Deva was to see person Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. By the grace of Lord, Sri Bhishma Deva had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. So Bhishma Deva had the opportunity of seeing Lord Krishna personally present, beautifully decorated form of Lord Krishna. Even we also have this opportunity, like Archa Vigraha, the form of the Lord, which descend by the request of Acharya. So Lord has appeared. It's not some stone or it's the same supreme personality of Godhead. Prabhupada gives the example of embassies. Embassies are like, you have embassies in different countries, right? And they follow the rules of that country. The rules are different. So same way, Prabhupada says this ISKCON temples, deities, they are like spiritual embassies. They are like Vaikuntha, where everyone gets an opportunity to link with the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, directly and make our life successful. So today's class, we discussed about importance of human form of life. Why this human form of life is important. And we took the verse of Prahlad Maharaj. Kaumaram achate pragna dharman bhagavatan hiya dullabam manusham janmam tadapi adruvam arthadam. So Prahlad Maharaj is explaining that human form of life is very rare because there are 84 lakh species of life and our life is like a cycle. This whole living species are like a cycle. We may get this human form of life very rarely because once again you have to follow that cycle of 84 lakh species. And after getting this human form of life also, we waste it in sleeping. We are not interested in devotional service. And then we talked about what is the subject matter which attracts a dying man. So we talked about Pandavas, how they ask different questions that how, in fact, we got this human form of life, but we are not very careful. We are not very conscious of how to utilize this. And then further we talked about the verse, this Prabhupada's statement. How do we connect with the Supreme Lord? Is by association. Is by devotee association, by the association of Vaishnavas. And then our life will be successful. With this I land. Any questions or anything? It's a nice question. Usually he thought that, in fact, Prabhupada explains this in a previous verse, I'll tell you. So here it is said, when Bhishma Deva was describing occupational duties, the sun course run into northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystic who die at their will. The perfect yogis or mystic can leave the material body at their own sweet will at a suitable time and go to the suitable planet desired by them. It is said in the it is said that a self-realized soul who has exactly identified themselves with the interests of the Supreme Land can generally leave the material body during the time of fire god effulgence and when the sun is in the northern hemisphere and thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body and they are taken advantage by the expert mystic who have perfected the system. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such super mental state as to be able to leave the material body as desired. Yogis can also reach any planet within or no time without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a short time, and this is impossible for materialistic. Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at a speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science. Bhishmadeva knew all how to utilize it. He was just waiting for suitable moment to quit this material body. The golden opportunity arrived, and when he was instructing his noble grandsons and Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit this body before the exalted Lord Krishna. The Pandavas, the pious Pandavas, the great sages headed by Bhagwan Vyasa and all, etc., all great souls. So you can see Bhishma Deva knew this art, that I have to quit in this particular time and I have to leave this body. But Bhishma Deva did not knew that Lord Krishna and all they will come at particular that time. So he was just thinking that okay, I have to leave this body, so let me leave in a particular time. Because devotees are not anxious that okay, Lord has to come near me, then I will die. They don't disturb the Supreme Lord. They don't want to disturb the Supreme Lord. It's said that devotees, they don't want to engage Lord in their own service. So if you see in the principle of Rupa Goswami and all, so they say they don't want Lord to be engaged. Like we ask Lord, oh Lord, give me this. So devotees they never ask Lord. Whatever state of existence you keep, I'll be happy. Like you'll see in Bhagavatam, Sudama. Sudama, materially he was very poor, did not have anything. He was surviving by drinking water and they had many children, 4 or 5 children. And her wife was very anxious what to be done. He used to go to 5 houses to ask something. Because that was the Brahmana's duty, that he has to beg and eat. So sometimes he will not get, it's not that you will get everything. So he used to not get. So if you see this, and when her wife forced him to go to Krishna, that at least something kuch milega. Sudama did not have a desire that I'll go to Krishna and ask something. He just went to meet his friend. So you'll see Bhishma Deva also is not, it is described that he was waiting for a particular time. So he thought that okay, because he was in a battlefield and he had practiced that mystic yoga and all. And he knew that art because he had learned from childhood. He was learned under direction of Parshurama. So he knew that. But he was not, his goal is that okay, now Lord Krishna has to come. Devotees have to come, then only I'll quit. No, that was not his desire. So he was just waiting for an auspicious time. Then when Vaishnavas, devotees, they came, then he was very happy that, oh, Lord is so merciful. So he had a desire to see Vijay, that he was always meditating on that form of Krishna holding a weapon. So he was in a chivalrous rasa with Lord, fighting rasa. So you'll see the devotees, they don't desire that, means they don't desire to engage Lord in their own service. So that is the principle, but further we can discuss differently. With that, I'll end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki